morning, Sarah Hepla.
Good morning, Nancy Rommelman.
How are you today?
I'm okay. You sound a little echoey, but
Well, I'll de-echo myself. I think there's an app for that. So
okay. It'll be a little bit like you're speaking to us from another room. Like when your mom is telling you a story and she's in the bathroom getting ready.
yeah, it's kind of like that. Oh, that I'm sorry. We have a
Oh,
guest here, and
we do.
looks like a raccoon. Is that a, is
We
that
have a guest, and it's a cat. This is
is,
fantastic. That cat's coming up to the microphone.
Yeah.
Yes,
Can you hear
cat.
him purring?
Cat, tell us.
This is
So,
Rasputin. This is Rasputin, light of my life, fire of my loins.
Ugh.
And no, he's being really bad this morning. He thinks every video call is for him, and so he shows up and paws at me and tries to put his anus in the camera, as one does.
that would be our it's our Thursday surprise.
We're working on living intentionally over here with our anuses out of the camera. I'm doing pretty well at that.
So far. Look, we're only 1 minute.
There's time.
23
There's lots of
seconds in.
time.
There's lots of time to get
We
to that.
have a guest that is not a cat, and I want to introduce her. But before, hold on. I didn't even know what I was saying. What am I saying?
Clearly.
We have two cats on this show, and I'm going to introduce one of them in just a second. But before I do that, I want to remind our listeners and our paid subscribers that this is our first Sunday Zoom coming up. Did you know that, Nancy Rommelman?
I did, and we're actually going to fulfill it this time.
We're going to be there. And remember how much you liked the last first Sunday Zoom?
Yep. It was great.
Yeah. So you'll get a link that goes out the day of, and you can join us for insider talk, insider trading, trading of ideas. No, I wrote an introduction because I that's my job around here. Nancy cleans the gutters and I take out the trash, and that's not a good metaphor for what I'm about to do, but I'm going to go. Oh God. Okay. Kat Rosenfield, occasionally known as Kat Rosenfeld, but always incorrectly, is a frequent guest. Twitter warrior, yoga hottie, accomplished novelist, elder millennial, and one of my favorite culture critics currently employed by the Free Press. She's made so many appearances on our show. We've promised her a silk kimono, and we don't take our promises lightly. Kat Rosenfield, welcome to Smoke 'em If You Got 'em.
Thank you for having me. Where's my kimono?
I know.
You know who you need to look at for this? There's a holdup, and her name is Nancy Rommelman, because I found the kimono. I found the kimono.
It was like $290.
Oh no, that's too much. No.
Yeah, I mean, I like cat and everything, but come on.
Listen, some of us don't shop at Ross, okay? And a kimono is not something.
Thank you.
It's not something you mess around with.
Okay.
So well, it was luxurious. And then again, I'm trying to remember, I got a really cool kimono for like $50, but I think it was made illegally in China. So I don't know. We'll see about it.
It's now going to cost you $150. So
yeah, right? Just think, Nancy, it's just a tariff. Think of it as a tariff on our favorite guest.
Look,
well, it's honestly, it's enough of a gift to know that you even thought about the kimono. I feel less naked already. We can just leave it there.
Anuses, nudity. Look, Sarah, as the husband is this relationship, I'm just going to say, honey, just go buy it. Just leave me out of it. Okay. I don't need to know the details. Just I'll pay the bill.
You're going to get a kimono. It's really pretty. Okay. Can I screw up this introduction more? I thought maybe I'd speak off the cuff a little bit about why we invited Kat on, because it was kind of my idea, you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now that I've introduced her. So a few days ago, I was listening to the podcast Blocked and Reported. Are you guys familiar with it?
Yes.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
look it up on Wikipedia,
I may have
Nancy.
been on it a couple of times.
Yeah, I think
Like
I've
they
been on it.
kidnapped me. I woke up in a bathroom with full of bathtub full of ice, and
Were
I
you
was on
missing a
Blocked and Reported.
kidney?
No, there was a podcast microphone where my kidney should have been. I don't know where I'm going with this.
It's no mystery why we have this woman on as much as we do. Blocked and Reported is a podcast. This is now for my mom. It's hosted by Jesse Singal and Katie Herzog. They kind of look at like Twitter kerfuffles of the day and various scandals. But, it's one of my favorite podcasts to listen to. I love their chemistry. I love how they kind of untangle various cultural knots. The most recent episode is called Whose Fault? Our Fault. And it looks at this idea that, I think they were inspired by a couple stories and we can talk about that. But it's an idea that's been floating around really since the election in these first 100 days of our Trump. And it's, what got us here? How did we get here as a culture? What led to Trump's second term? And one of the ideas is that there is or should be a lot of blame placed at the feet of the kind of heterodox thinkers and maybe anti-woke writers who pushed back very hard over the past several years on various excesses of the left that were deemed illiberal. And, Blocked and Reported, which is a very popular podcast, despite my mother never having heard of it, it, you could put that in this mix. I think the mix would probably be more like Joe Rogan and maybe the Free Press, your employer, Kat, and who are some of the other names? Lex Fridman, writers like Jonathan Chait, Jonathan Haidt, people like that. But, there's this idea that pushing back so hard against certain democratic principles or whatever got us to this place. And there's at the same time there's also this idea that people that once seemed as though they were fighting for liberal causes are now eager to kind of pimp for a liberalism when it's on the side of Trump or the side that they like or whatever. I found this conversation really fascinating. I don't think, Nancy, you and I don't know if people would really put us in that box because we're just not big enough. But I certainly think we stand under that larger umbrella. And I think Kat does too. Kat's work, has gained a lot of steam previously on Unheard, now with the Free Press. And she's also just a really badass on Twitter. I say this every time she's on. She's one of my favorite Twitter follows. Yeah. I think that she does it right. And I know she feels like I'm jinxing her every time I say that. Like now she's going to do it wrong. But she won't because she's just like somebody that like dances really well and they just can't help but dance really well. So I love what she does on Twitter. It's much better than me. And I think that we have had some of our listeners, Nancy, push back and tell us, that we were part of the problem and they were unsubscribing. I'm sure that we've had other people come on and subscribe because they thought we were part of the solution, whatever, so on and so forth. This has been long. I just thought of Kat because I like her brain on anything. I like her energy in the room. But I knew that there had been this kind of Twitter back and forth that she'd had over this issue of whether she was, quote, anti-woke, and what that means to be anti-woke and whether or not she had paid really an excess of attention to the the illiberalism of the Democrats as the illiberalism of the Republicans came to swallow us whole. That's the question or the theory. So let me punt this to our guest. Kat, did you listen to the Blocked and Reported episode? Did you have thoughts and maybe talk a little bit about how you see your own role in this?
Okay, so I did start listening to it, and then I knew that I was going to be coming on to talk about this, and I was worried that I might put too many of Jesse Singal and Katie Herzog's thoughts in my own head to articulate my own feelings about this. Because, I hear their voices in my head all the time, especially in the shower. And yeah,
Hot.
So,
It's so hot, though. It's just like their banter, their like slightly cruel banter with each other.
Yeah. It's I like it. I need to up my game on that front.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I stopped listening to it. I figured actually that I would finish it while I'm walking to work later today. But I didn't want to kind of preempt whatever my own thoughts were about this by listening to too many of theirs. They didn't mention me on the podcast, did they?
No, I actually haven't finished it yet either
Okay.
because it's long, but I don't
I don't
think
think
so.
I don't think so.
Okay. So I have actually many thoughts on this, and I'm going to try to remember all of them,
Yeah.
and but also not go on too long. If I do, you guys should stop me. I talked about this a little bit actually on Feminine Chaos, which I co-host with Phoebe Maltz-Bovey. It's my own podcast, and one of the initial conclusions we came to was who is responsible for the second coming of Donald Trump to the White House. I'm going to go ahead and say the people who voted for him.
Right.
Probably. That they are the most responsible, followed by people who vocally supported him, promoted him, wrote or spoke praisefully about him. And I don't know. I am struggling to accept the idea that people like me who, number one, are not political writers,
Right.
and are not writing with the goal of persuading anybody to vote this or that way,
Right.
but who did spend quite a lot of time in advance of the election noting that the left had adopted a lot of policies and a lot of rhetoric that were really unpopular and that were really alienating a lot of people, and saying, hey, I think that you guys are setting yourselves up to lose by doing this, that these people are to blame for Donald Trump voters. I don't really understand what the idea is. It's like, had I not said anything, nobody would have noticed. I don't think that that's possibly true. But this kind of gets me to the thing that bothers me so much more about this, which is just I keep thinking about what do we do as writers? What is the purpose of writing? And the three of us, we're not polemicists. I don't think that we write prescriptively. We are storytellers. And the point of writing in this way is to articulate things that are true about the world. Like for me, I write because I want to understand the world. I want to find meaning in what I'm seeing. I'm often fascinated by how much history seems to repeat itself and by how things are connected in unlikely ways. And I don't know. I feel like I get defensive about this, but like I'm just trying to describe the world. I'm just trying to say true things. And I think the idea that I shouldn't do that, or that writers in general shouldn't do that because it's politically inconvenient sometimes to one side or another, is a really intellectually bankrupt notion. And I really reject the idea that it is the job of writers who have liberal politics to get liberal or left-wing politicians elected. I don't think that is our job. I think that's actually like the antithesis of our job. And I think it's even more the antithesis of our job. And this is where I get into the spat that I had on Twitter with Kathy Young. I don't think it's our job to like launch ourselves at a single target relentlessly. Even if other people believe that it's such an emergency that like all of the prior rules of engagement should go out the window, and
Yeah.
that we all just need to dedicate ourselves, wholesale to keeping one orange man out of the White House. Um, so the thing that Kathy Young, she wrote this about me without like reaching out. It just, appeared in this column of hers. She called me anti-Trump, or sorry, an anti-Trump columnist, as though this were my title, which I take exception to for reasons that I will probably attempt to articulate in a moment. Like, I don't really appreciate being non-consensually assigned an ideology that I don't believe in. But the other thing is, she called me disingenuous. And like, that really, ladies, it really grinds my gears. And
why that word? Why do you think that one got you so much?
Because I have so many flaws as a person and as a writer. I know that a lot of people find it like annoying and opaque the way I express myself, and that's fine. I'm just not, I'm not the writer for them. But all I've been doing for the past like 15 years at this point is trying to, again, like find meaning and understanding and make sense of what I'm seeing, and to express myself sincerely. And if it's something that if I've put it in writing, it may be annoying, but it is what I sincerely believe. And the idea that I'm like this calculating, dishonest person who would sacrifice not only my personal integrity, but the integrity of my work as like a writer and a storyteller to what end? I mean, to spin for a politician is so incredibly offensive to me.
So, I know Kathy personally. I've met her. And Kathy does some good work. She'll look into a story and really grind it out. But I'm wondering, since I actually didn't see the particular beef, I just heard about it from Sarah. Do you think that she's positing this because some part of her believes you're supposed to be, or that we're all supposed to be some kind of writer? We're all supposed to, claim a team and then fight for that team? Is that like underlying her her argument about you, that and she sees you doing it and you're doing it wrong?
I think that people just find ambiguity really frightening. This is sort of the most compassionate read that I can give on stuff like this. It's, there is this desire to sort everybody into boxes. It helps people make sense of the world, feel like they can slap a label on somebody. To have somebody who's kind of standing back from the action, especially if you consider yourself to be at war, which I don't, but a lot of people do.
Right.
And you're looking, and there's somebody standing back from the action, and they're just kind of watching, and they're maybe talking about it in a descriptive way, but they don't seem to be picking up a weapon. They don't seem to be paying enough attention to the side that you think is the antagonist. I can understand being suspicious of that, but I find it to be a really kind of a broken way to look at the world. And I think that it does not really foment understanding or progress. And I mean, the thing about if I can like talk for a minute about the anti-Trump idea, I think that the fact that that's become a term that people are using unironically indicates that we have like jumped the shark completely on politics by negative polarization.
Yeah.
It's like we have reached this point where people have no idea. They could not even tell you what they believe anymore, because all they know is that they hate one particular thing or one particular person, and they just launch themselves at that. And if you don't join them in that enterprise, then you're perceived to be on the other side of things. this with us or against us thing that I find really frustrating, because I do think that if you only ever look at a landscape in the context of trying to keep this loathed thing in your crosshairs, then you are not getting an accurate view of either the landscape or of the thing that you're looking at.
Hey, listeners in Listener Land, and for those of you on YouTube, maybe watching it, thanks for being here. This is the end of the free portion of this episode. If you would like the entire episode, got to head over to Substack. That's smoke'empodcast.substack.com. Become a paid subscriber. Many ways to do that. You get the full episodes and you get some other niceties and etc. and etc. And if you are over here on YouTube, hit that subscribe button as well. We appreciate it. Tell your friends. Thanks.